What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some new Untamed creatures to be having a look at. There was a Fantasy Flight Games live stream this evening, and they were like, hey, do you want to see some new Keyforge cards? And I was like, yeah, I do want to see some new Keyforge cards. Though a quick reminder to anyone watching, when I do these card reveals, I try and get a few into a video. I try and theme them a little bit. There will be timestamps in the descriptions. If you want to flick to a particular card, you can do so using the timestamps. So let's start off with Musthic Murmook. Is Musthic the way we're pronouncing that? Musthic? I don't really know, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm honest with you. Let's go Musthic Murmook, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. Hang on a second. Murmook. Haven't we heard that somewhere before? Yes, we have. We'll get there in a minute. It is a 4-power creature with no armor, and it reads, each player's keys cost +1 amber. It increases the cost of forging keys by 1 for both players. And when you play it, you deal 4 damage to a creature. Now, playing it and dealing 4 damage to a creature literally makes it Mighty Tiger. As in, they've both got 4 power, they've both got no armor, they both deal 4 damage to a creature. Now, there is actually a subtle difference there, in that Mighty Tiger can only deal damage to an enemy creature, whereas Musthic Murmook can deal damage to a friendly creature if you wish. Now, this can backfire, because if your opponent's got no creatures but you do, Mighty Tiger doesn't deal damage, Musthic Murmook demands that you deal 4 damage to one of your own creatures. However, maybe one of your own creatures is Bren the Fanatic, whereby when you destroy it, you steal 3 amber. Or maybe one of your own creatures is a Dust Imp. It's been in both sets so far, whereby when you destroy it, you gain 2 amber. Yeah, sometimes it's good to damage your own creatures. Or maybe you've got an Iron Obelisk out, so you damage a Brobnar creature so that your opponent's keys cost an extra amber. Hey, speaking of which, the other bit of Musthic Murmook, each player's keys cost +1 amber. Now this is kind of cool, because this is the 3rd Murmook we've seen, 2nd from Worlds Collide, and they all affect the price of keys. Back in Call of the Archons, we got what should now be referred to as regular Murmook. Your opponent's keys cost +1 amber. We then saw a little bit of a tease for Imprinted Murmook. Your keys cost -1 amber. And now we've got Musthic Murmook. Each player's keys cost +1 amber. It's a double-sided thing. And this is a little bit weird. This is when you're thinking, you know what? I can gain amber faster than you. I can get amber better than you. So I'm going to play this because I can afford to pay 7, 8, 9 to forge a key, and I don't think you can. Now, we don't know exactly what Untamed is going to look like in Worlds Collide. We won't until we have a full set list. But in the past, in both sets, for instance, we've seen cards like Full Moon, and back in Call of the Archons, we got Dust Pixie. So you know what? Untamed has been good at rushing amber before. If you get this in a good amber rushing deck, it's going to give you an advantage. But if your opponent can rush amber better than you, and you're increasing the cost of both players forging, that does seem counterintuitive. This is a weird creature that does a lot of things, and I kind of like it. We can also take a look at a new creature, Harmonia. 2 power, no armor, with elusive. You got to attack it twice. The first time you attack, nothing happens. After you play a creature, if there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures, gain an amber. Yes. Absolutely yes. Now, it's a bit weird though, right? Because you might want to wipe your opponent's board and play something like Gateway to Dis, for instance. Again, we don't know what's going to be in Worlds Collide. These are just examples. Problem is, if you wipe your opponent's board, you're not getting any amber with this. What you need to do is play a bunch of creatures when your opponent's already got a bunch. Now, there could be some weird combos going on here. So let's say, for argument's sake, all of your opponent's creatures are damaged, but yours aren't. So you play a Coward's End, it destroys all of your creatures because they're undamaged. Now you do gain free chains, which sucks. You don't destroy your opponent, and then you can start just whacking creatures down, gaining an amber every time. This is nervy, right? Because this works when your opponent's got more creatures than you, which means that all of their skills are going to be working, which means they've got more creatures that can be reaping to victory. Against a deck which is just going to have more creatures than you anyway, this is just a great excuse for rushing Amber. It does, of course, remind me in a roundabout way of Flaxia, which is, of course, another one of these creatures that we've seen in Untamed, whereby when you play it, you gain 2 Amber if you've got more creatures in play than your opponent. This is kind of the opposite, except in theory, if your opponent's got like 8 creatures out, you can play 7 creatures and gain 7 Amber. Now we know that you generally start your turn with a hand of 6, but maybe you can archive a bunch of creatures, bring them all out of your archive at once, play them all down with this in play, and then just go nuts with Amber. Harmonia, I love for the Amber ability of it, but it does make me a little bit nervous in that this is one of those cards which is at its best when your opponent is doing better than you. In that regard, it reminds me very much of furtive investments. If your opponent has more Amber than you, you gain 1 Amber for each key your opponent has forged. So it does best when your opponent's got 2 keys and has more Amber than you. Yeah, this is another one of those cards. It makes me nervous, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. But the fact remains, it can rush for a whole bunch of Amber. And finally today, the wonderfully designed Kangaphant. A 5 power, 0 armor creature, which means it's pretty gosh darn beefy. Each creature gains Reap. Destroy this creature. And when it says each creature, yes, it is referring to both your creatures and your opponent's creatures, which means that either you or your opponent can reap as much as you like, just so long as you're willing to give the creature up afterwards. Now, of course, there are plenty of ways that we can take advantage of this. Again, we've just got the other ones we mentioned earlier, like Brenda Fanatic and Ember Imp, that you want off the board, where you gain a bonus by getting them destroyed. So why not, ladies and gentlemen? Why not? Otherwise, this can go very badly. Now, if you're playing a deck with fewer creatures and more actions where you're getting your Amber from Amber bonus, yes, this is wonderful. But if you're trying to reap loads, yeah, it can get very, very awkward. Like, really awkward. And this seems like a natural evolution, right? Back in Wave 2, we got a whole bunch of reaping hate, a whole bunch of cards trying to stop us reaping. We got Zyzizic Shockworm and a bunch of other creatures that stunned creatures when they reap. We actually got Barrister Joya, who just plain stopped reaping. But we then did also get Bloodshard Imp. And Bloodshard Imp should look a little bit familiar here. After a creature reaps, its controller must sacrifice it. Oh. Yeah, that's kind of familiar, ladies and gentlemen. It is a super-powered Bloodshard Imp. Both of them basically destroy a creature after it reaps. Okay, Kangaphant says it gains Reap, destroy this creature. Bloodshard Imp, after a creature reaps, its controller must sacrifice it. But they amount to the same thing. Except Kangaphant is 5 power rather than 2. It's just a super-powered Bloodshard Imp. I like these new creatures. I think Harmonia has a lot of potential, though it's kind of terrifying to play. I think Musthic Murmook has a lot of potential, though it can be terrifying to play. And I think Kangaphant has a lot of potential, though it can be terrifying to play. All 3 of these creatures can help you massively, and all 3 of these creatures can backfire. Well, 2 of them can backfire. Harmonia really is at its best when your opponent's in a better position than you, which again makes me a little bit nervous. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, 3 new Untamed creatures. I've told you what I think about them. I'd like to know what you think about them. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, which is where we talk about games like Keyforge and a bunch of others. And do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, chat, it'll be fun. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.